Hey, Miami sports fans. Stop by Caneswear today at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida. And check out their awesome merchandise selection of your favorite South Florida sports teams. From the Miami Dolphins, Hurricanes, Heat, Marlins, Florida Panthers, and Inter Miami, they've got it all. Celebrate your favorite team and show off your fandom with their beautiful team starter jackets, killer-looking helmets, team jerseys, cool shirts, and more. And if you're out of town or out of state, no worries. Go to caneswear.com and find everything they have on their site. Select what you want and they will ship your gear to you. Anything over $99 is shipped for free. Don't wait. Stop at Caneswear today.
That's awesome. We want to give, honestly, I have to give credit. Hey, everyone. We're here to talk about the Super Bowl, but I just gave our producer a little bit of crap that he spelled the Kansas City Chiefs wrong, so he actually just did the flip while we were doing this. That's awesome producing by that guy. The guy's sick, has a fever, no voice, but guys, we're here. Super Bowl. We wanted to be there, but we have to talk because this network, we don't just talk about the Miami Dolphins. We talk about everyone and everything. So Courtney and I, we're the ones who want to stay up late and talk about what just happened, talk about this awful Super Bowl that just took place. We learned a lot in the Super Bowl, but congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. I watched it with my son who's resting next to me. He wanted the 49ers. I wanted the Chiefs. Everyone, welcome to the Super Bowl postgame show. I'm Finn Stanza. With me is Doll, as always, Courtney. Courtney, how are you doing?
Good. Don't mind the messy bed back here. The dogs have been jumping on it. My brother.
It's all good. I don't judge. I have kids. I don't judge
for this show.
I don't judge. I have kids.
It cost $7 because I bet my brother the Niners would win. So.
By the way, did you see who's bringing up the Super Bowl trophy today?
Yeah, no, it's
sorry, it's Anka. So the Dolphins. It's really crazy. And then I just gave it to Elway. But no, guys, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. You want to know what? In a game like that, this is exactly how the Kansas City Chiefs won all season. This was a defensive juggernaut of a game. When you need someone to come win a football game, who is it? It's Patrick Mahomes. This guy just proved that this is what he is. He's incredible. You had no doubt when they scored a field goal in the first part of the overtime that he was going to go down the field and be able to do what he needed to do. There was something about this game. This game I don't know about you, Courtney, but this game for me was really, really bad until the fourth quarter. I said that to everybody. This always opens up in the fourth quarter, but the San Francisco 49ers basically could have cleared this game up in the first half. But once again, I'm going to recall this and tell me if you disagree. You're actually going to a game this week, this upcoming Valentine's Day, where the former coach of the 76ers, I'm now going to refer to Kyle Shanahan as Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is the only coach in sports history to blow 3-1 leads in the playoffs. This is the third time that Kyle Shanahan has been on a team where he has given up a double-digit lead and lost the Super Bowl. That is totally unacceptable in any way, shape, or form. The San Francisco 49ers should have dominated this game. They didn't. They were completely out of sorts, the Kansas City Chiefs, in the first half, but they let Patrick Mahomes stay in the game. You don't let Andy Reid, the GOAT right now in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes, the GOAT in the NFL quarterback, stay in football games. If you let them do that with Butker and that special teams and Spags, you're going to be in trouble. So overall, give me your overall assessment of the game and who you wanted to win and what did you take from it as an overall?
So I was rooting for the Niners. I think, and the Chiefs played a terrible game. They played horribly, and the fact that they were still in it while the Niners were playing fantastic, I think should speak volumes as well. Because Mahomes wasn't comfortable.
No.
In his face, he was out of sorts, dropping balls, couldn't get it, three and out punt. It was just, they played their worst game and they still won. And so and you know what? I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it back to the Dolphins. If we keep living off the Shanahan tree and calling plays like Shanahan, the Dolphins will never get to the Super Bowl and win it. Because Kyle Shanahan and Mike Daniel are both showed they're inept play callers, and I'm leaving it there.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
If they didn't have Christian McCaffrey, they wouldn't have won that game. It wasn't one on play calling. Christian McCaffrey's just hard ass running kept them in that game. But what happened in the second half? What did they get away from?
The run. But he did that. He's done that He did that the last time they faced the Chiefs, and he did that in the 28-3 lead against the Patriots. He gets away from what works, and then in the overtime he started utilizing it, but then he went away from it again.
And McDaniel does the same thing.
No, 100%. This the Kyle Shanahan motto, and that's why at the end of this season, I was the number one person who's been hard on Mike McDaniel. But we'll get to the Dolphins on about that, because I completely agree, and this was my biggest concern about the Miami Dolphins going forward, is that Kyle Shanahan is it's sort of like the Lamar Jackson of the regular season as a coach, where they're great regular season offensive stars in their own right, and he's been there for 7 years, and he's sort of pulling the Andy Reid, but he's been to 4 AFC championships, 2 Super Bowls, and he hasn't won any. And he's had great players and great stars, and they played, and they had the chance to win this today. And in terms of what 305 were, it was a great game in the fourth quarter into overtime. But for the first 3.5 quarters, this was a snooze fest. It was one of the worst games I've ever watched. It was one of the hardest things because it was defensive juggernauts, but the special teams led that way. The offense couldn't get going. Brock Purdy fell asleep. The offense had 3 or 4 yards heading into the fourth quarter. They got away from the run. This was the kind of game where Andy Reid basically said, Spags, you're going to do everything you can to help me win this game. Butker, special teams. And this proved so much to me. I said before, even I was talking to Bobby yesterday, that this game was going to be a lesson for us on what the Dolphins and the NFL has to do to win football games, because the Chiefs aren't going anywhere. Because as long as they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid wants to coach, and Spagnuolo's there, and Travis Kelce's there, and Chris Jones is there, they're going to continue to win football games when it matters. They're going to win. They're going to sneak in. They're going to get into the playoffs somehow, some way. They can win on the road, and they can do what they need to do. So for me overall, this game was not a great game. It was not a great game, but it had elements that I feel were amazing in terms of the fact that defense, the way they blitzed the Chiefs, the way the D-line, the D-line in the trenches of the San Francisco 49ers, the defense did everything they possibly could on the 49ers side of the ball. It was the offensive side of the ball that basically gave it up from them.
Yeah.
In terms of the special teams, block field, with that block extra point, you know how crucial that was? Like the special teams, where the field position was. At one point, you didn't think that the Chiefs were ever going to start past their 15-yard line. The 49ers couldn't get only wait till the third quarter to only get into the red zone of the Chiefs. It was just one of those games where it was who's going to make the biggest mistake. And in the end, it was sort of like the Tony Sparano mentality. We'll just get our field goals, and whoever finally has that chance to get a field goal wins that. If a touchdown wins that football game. And congratulations for McCall Hardman, because everyone gave him crap. He started with the Jets. He came back. He did his job. The receivers ended up not doing great, but Travis Kelce showed up in the second half, 8 receptions for 92 yards. Patrick Mahomes was Patrick Mahomes. Pacheco had an awful game, but he did get the chunk yards because Reed kept on going back to the run, even if it wasn't working, to balance it. And in the end, he put the ball in his best player's hands. We all knew when it was 4th and 1, I knew that Patrick Mahomes was going to run that football. I don't know about you, but we knew he was going to run that football. So overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, though, if you were to say, like, from games you've watched in the past today, what would you rate this overall game?
Like a 5.
5, yeah. I would give it a 4 or 5 for the first 3.5 quarters, and then fourth quarter to overtime. That's what I want to see in a football game. That I'll give more like a 7 or an 8. Like,
but I had said going into this game, and people were fighting with my family, were fighting with me. I was like, this isn't going to be a high scoring game. This is going to be fought in the trenches. This is going to be defense on defense. This is going to be a comparison of the lines. The quarterbacks aren't going to be slinging it down the field. That's not what this game's about. It's not what happened. It was a low scoring game. It went into overtime.
Yeah.
I think too many people were too hung up on, arms and big. I'm like, the 49ers have probably one of the best defensive lines in the league.
They were phenomenal tonight.
And the Chiefs' offensive line was horrific. Like, let's just be real. Look at the Dolphins out there.
Oh, Creed Humphrey? I thought he was Connor Williams or Liam Eichenberg today. Every snap was hitting the ball.
Like, you're in the biggest game of your life. It was ugly. And Mahomes is not Tua Tagovailoa to where he can get the ball out in 2.5 seconds. Mahomes needs that time in the pocket. He needs to see the receivers.
Yeah.
You're getting open down the field. He could not handle the pressure of having to get that ball out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think that also cap for life. Tight ends were not a factor. Kelsey was a little bit, but
Kittle was completely taken out until that one. He had one nice catch. He ended up having to go to the side, the locker room at one point. But no, Travis Kelsey showed up in the end. Like Travis Kelsey,
Andy Reid in the first half.
No, that honestly, I think it. By the way, they do that all the time. The problem was when he got angry because it was on national TV. He does it all the time. But if he got in his face, he gets frustrated. I think that's just part of their moxie.
Yeah.
But that's ridiculous. It's by the way, I don't know who won MVP. Anyone can define because I'm looking down at the TV. I probably missed it. It had to be Mahomes.
I had to be Mahomes.
It had to be Mahomes at one point. People were talking about
honestly at this point. I would have allowed it to be
Jennings.
No, Nicole
Hardman. No, or it could easily be. It could have been Chris Jones for all I care. Like Chris Jones on the blitz. I would give it to Spagnuolo because what he did with that defense is beyond words. Like the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs was
shit. It was like watching Vic Fangio out there. If I tweeted about this, I said
not when they blitzed. They drove Purdy in the second half. He drove Purdy nuts.
They really blitzed, and if I had to see any more soft zone coverage and letting them get 10 to 15 yards down the middle of the field with absolutely,
that was in the first half, not in the second. He adjusted.
Flashbacks to every Dolphins game. I was like, oh, what do they have? Kader Kohu out there?
No, I'll disagree on the fact that I believe that the defense of the Chiefs were gassed, but Chris Jones, when he had to be, was a great player. And when Purdy tried to go deep, McDuffie, Snead, they were always in the right spot. And that's something that our team was never doing.
We did over here saying that Lamar must have a talk with him after the AFC game. I was like, yo, run some more.
Yeah, I know. Lamar Jackson must have been saying, like, the Chiefs, this is what the Chiefs do, but that's what the Chiefs do. That's the point. That's a championship team. If you look at a lot of the wins that the Patriots have had, because congratulations to the Chiefs, they're the first team since 2003-04. It's the longest time gap in between to win consecutive Super Bowls. They didn't win big Super Bowls. When they won that first Super Bowl, they won a Super Bowl 13-3. They won very tight games. They always won by Vinatieri doing a field goal. They never dominated Super Bowls. That's what championship teams do. You need to, when it matters and it's tight and it's stressful, the star of your team comes out, and that is your quarterback. Brock Purdy, he had an okay game, but he looked flustered. He looked confused at different points in the second half because if he wasn't giving it to McCaffrey and McCaffrey wasn't there, or he wasn't doing en route to Debo, it wasn't working for him. Overall, I got to see a few. Let's take a little side note. We'll come back to the game and how it refers to the Dolphins, and people can say whatever they want. But but Mahomes was like a running back. We knew he'd run like a running back. Did you enjoy Did you enjoy the commercials? Are there any ones that you loved, or you just whatever?
No, I'm a millennial, and I feel like growing up, the Super Bowl commercials were elite.
Like what's up? Like what's up? The best commercial ever.
They were, and these ones, I just feel like.
Well, come on, Marino. When you saw Marino with Messi and Ted Lasso, that was good.
It was okay, but like
it's Marino. You have to cheer for Marino.
I wasn't alone. I feel like they've gone downhill. I feel like the Super Bowl.
Of course they have, but at least there's something. Christopher Walken, he's funny. The 201 with the Paramount Plus is pretty funny.
Notice they took the line out.
Yes, but the Patrick Stewart is really funny.
Got to movie studios too.
Yeah. Anyways, it is what it is. But honestly, the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs won again just reiterates the fact that you need to have a strong foundation, and you do need to build a team with a star quarterback and a star head coach. If you don't have both, you're not going to win. And what showed today with Kyle Shanahan is that you don't have a star yet in your quarterback, and you're not a star head coach when it matters.
No.
And That's very frustrating. When you looked at when McVay won with Stafford, Stafford was still a really great, he's still a very good quarterback, and you had a very bright head coach who utilized his defense of Aaron Donald and Von Miller and that group to help you win. Here today, it was just, there's something about the Shanahan tree. Mike Shanahan is a very old school coach. That's 27 years ago. And plus, he had John frickin' Elway as his quarterback. When he's gone to the Super Bowl, he's had Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. And you're not going to win when it matters when you have Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. That's not going to happen. There's a reason why when Mahomes lost that Super Bowl to Brady, it's because he lost to Tom frickin' Brady and a stout defense. That's how you win championships. But even then, like if you look back a couple of years ago, I always like to refer to this one because this is one of the biggest blowouts ever, was the fact that when Gruden took Dungy's defense and had Brad Johnson, but he had a stout defense, but he knew what Rich Gannon and them were all about because he was just in Oakland. He was able to dominate them because he had star defenses and star offensive players, and it was a cakewalk for them because he knew what to do. There's an adaptation here. Shanahan should have learned his lesson on how Patrick Mahomes. He actually didn't learn his lesson. He's yet to learn his lesson. He's Doc frickin' Rivers. People are going to say how great of a coach he is. Oh, everyone's saying how great the trade was going to be for Christian McCaffrey. But like I said at the end of our season, you're not going to win with a star wide receiver or a star running back only. You have to have a stout, very strong defense, and you can win with a game manager if you have all the right pieces and you actually treat him like a game manager. If you look, Brock Purdy had more down the field throws than Patrick Mahomes today. They tried to turn him into something that he's not, and he was calm under pressure for the first half. But after that, it wasn't great. As a millennial, how do you rate the halftime show?
I disagree with you. I think that Brock Purdy did
not in the second half.
Expected Brock Purdy to play. I don't think he made. Mahomes is the one who threw a pick in the game. Purdy didn't throw a pick.
Purdy did what he could, but he looked flustered.
Of course, it's your first Super Bowl, but
of course,
they could have won if they didn't get away from the run. They could have won that game.
Yes, 100%.
And they could have won it with Brock Purdy. I think
yes,
it's a winnable with Purdy. But
I said they lost because of Kyle Shanahan.
This is a hot take. I want to take an axe to the Shanahan tree. I want to take an axe to it.
Let me explain the Shanahan tree. Okay, the Shanahan tree does sort of work because McVay's won one. LaFleur is developing something. McDaniel is a smart guy. The problem is that you need to know it's the stubbornness. It's this ineptitude to realize that you're not the only genius there. You have to be able to build a foundation around. Like Matt Nagy's not a good offensive coordinator, but Andy Reid has had to grind his teeth for 21 years before he won a Super Bowl. But it's different because he comes from a different generation. The Kyle Shanahan tree, because if you look at you sort of have to be careful because of DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans comes on the defensive side of the ball, but look what he's doing with the Texans.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy was put in a position today that he was being forced to win the football game, not Christian McCaffrey and not Deebo Samuel and not Brandon Ayuk. That was the problem. Because that's on Shanahan. Purdy did nothing wrong. Purdy has nothing to be ashamed of. It's his first Super Bowl. He's Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick. Congratulations, you made your first Super Bowl in less than 2 years.
I have no complaints about Brock Purdy's play. No. I have so many I just have so many play but I just was watching this game and I was just like, I hate being a Dolphin fan right now because it's like
we're going to get to that. We'll get to that.
But I'll answer the halftime show.
You're a millennial, so
was okay. I didn't like the first half of it, but once we got to and once it picked up a bit.
Oh, once you saw Little John and Ludacris, it was good.
Once I saw Little John, I was like, all right, now
take down the wall. Come on, that's the song.
The first half was hard because I don't think that the vocals weren't there for Usher. I don't know. I think with the mic, it wasn't crisp and picking it up.
No.
And it was a little slow.
Yeah.
The second half, it wasn't the best I've seen, but it wasn't the worst I've seen. But I think it definitely picked up once we got into more of the upbeat songs. I just don't feel like R&B type songs are great for a Super Bowl halftime show because I feel like it should be upbeat, get the crowd going.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the sound person, it didn't sound right. The sound
no,
was not there
no,
for
no.
him.
The issue also was is that Usher. No offense, I know people might think he's this. My kids were looking and all they were saying was "ooh," because
Oh, my kids
okay,
did
come on.
the same.
Because at least when Dre was there and Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg was there, they walk slowly. When you see the women, they have glow and then they disappear. And then he kept on coming back out, and he literally looked like he literally took a bath. He just poured sweat sauna over his face. I've never seen a guy so. I'm a big guy. I sweat. He was profusely sweating the entire time. It was a. He take a towel, do something. Like we've seen so many people do this, and no one has sweat that profusely. It was a little
We're also
much.
in Las Vegas in a dome. I don't know if the dome's air conditioned.
It has to be 100% air conditioned.
And he's 45 years old, who hasn't performed. And I don't know when the last time Usher performed anything, but yeah, I mean, the sweating, the taking off the
It's
shirt,
disgusting.
it was too. My kids were like, "Why is he taking off his clothes?"
Yeah.
I'm just like, Usher. Like, I don't.
Like this is not honestly. This is not Michael Jackson. This is not Prince. This is not
Well,
like
he's known
there's
for
different
his.
parts. This is not Shakira. Like the beyond. Like this is something up with it. It was just it didn't feel right. I missed the doctor.
It was the vocals. I'm telling you, the vocals, the sound.
The moment the roller skates came out, I go, it's over.
No,
I actually 1980 roller derby. What was that?
It was. I think that was fun. Like that's when it started to pick up for me. Was when the roller.
No, Ludacris and no when the Ludacris and Little John came out, then it got better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's just the greatest.
Yeah,
it wasn't the worst, but they did. I would like to say for all of you misogynistic pigs, they only showed Taylor Swift a few times.
No, they showed her a lot, especially when they won. Right now, the post game. But you want to know what she didn't make it about her today. She brought. The funny thing was that my kids who are young, even my daughter, like who's that woman next to her, Blake Lively. They wouldn't necessarily know who he is. Young kids, who's that other? And then when you see Ice Spice, like who the heck? Like they know who Ice Spice is. It's just a very random thing. It's just awkward because in the end, she's a mega superstar, billionaire, all this and all that, but if you look at her, I guarantee you, before she met Travis Kelce, she could not tell you what her first down was.
No, she wasn't a huge. She was an Eagle fan. Her dad's a huge Eagle fan, but she wasn't like really.
Honestly, she's just enjoying the aspect of it.
But she's supporting her boyfriend. She's there to. But it's giving a lot of little girls an introduction into football.
The sport. Yeah, no, it's not a bad thing.
Which I love. I think that's great being a female in this. Like I just watched the Super Bowl. I was the only female here.
And also, you look at Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce. You look at the Kelce guys. No offense, you're a girl. I'm a guy. They're not like they're not looking at like Nick Bosa here, as you would like to say. It's not Cameron. It's not Jason Taylor. It's not like you're looking at that. Like it's a set. Remember, she is a small town person. Even though she lives in LA, she's from a small town in Pennsylvania. It's not like she grew up as a very simple person. So like she wants to maybe find that in her life.
Middle class, like 6-bedroom, 3-bath house on a Christmas tree. She didn't grow up like.
I know that, but still.
Yeah, no, she grew up normal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But whatever. I liked Jason Kelce showing up in overalls. I think that's a very.
Although those are the everyone has those. I would never pull that off.
It's just so funny to me that you see all these celebrities showing up in like thousands of dollar gear, and he's showing up in like the.
That's him. That's him.
Yeah, like it was just great.
There's no way he can go back to the Eagles now. Like he can't be dressed in Chiefs gear the way he has been the last couple of weeks, and then go back and put on an Eagles uniform.
I don't know. He hasn't officially retired, so.
Taylor, I love 2-3-2-4-2-2. Taylor's already down to hell destroy. Yeah, because she's going back and forth and back and forth.
Listen, if I had a private jet, if I could afford a private jet, I'd be doing this shit.
I know.
I think
I just want to look at some of the stats because you said you didn't really follow it. But if you look at Purdy,
I didn't follow his
stats. No, he was 23 of 38 for 255. Mahomes was 34 46 for 333 because that all picked up in the other part. Mahomes had 9 for 66. 22 for 80, so it's only 3 yards of carry for McCaffrey. I think he should have gotten the ball more. McCaffrey ended up getting 160 yards across the board. That's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. He had 8 yards receiving, but I think they got away from the run at the wrong time. A lot of that runs happened in overtime. It just didn't seem right for most of the game, but I got to give credit. Like, honestly, Harrison Butker. Okay, I just want to give a credit. That would be my MVP. I don't know if someone never told me, but confirm if Mahomes got it. But that guy is money. Like that is what Jason said. This is what I want Jason Sanders to be.
Yep.
Like Moody wasn't his fault that it got blocked, but that's why you need a kicker, and that's always why it's been hard to have the best top kicker in the league.
Mahomes was made MVP.
Yeah, Jim Adams voted Mahomes MVP. Okay, I voted him. I'm not sure if he handed. By the way, I just want to make sure. Just get it out of the way. Tony Romo thought that the first person to score in overtime wins. And he kept on referring to Nick Bosa as Joey Bosa. You're talking about a guy who played in the NFL, who was this bright, up and coming. What has happened to this guy? He literally takes the fun. He doesn't know the rules. He doesn't know the names. He doesn't know what's going on unless you're Josh Allen. Something is very wrong with this guy.
I have 3 points with him. One, I hate him, but he at the beginning was talking about Brock Purdy, and he was like, the nerves can get to you. You just got to take it all in. And I'm like, when have you ever been to a Super Bowl that you've had to take it all in, Tony Romo?
No.
You to tell me what a quarterback feels like in the Super Bowl. You've never made it. 2, I would like to publicly let you guys know that I'm beefing with Dolphins Thirsty right now.
Are you really?
I am.
Over Jim. I think he's trying to push your buttons.
Yeah, he's been complimenting Tony Romo repeatedly. And I would just like you to know that that's a hard line that I draw. And the fact that he was like, Tony Romo gave the Dolphins props. The Tony Romo, I said this on Twitter, is a bitch. And I'm going to leave it there. And then there was a third point, but I forgot. But I hate him. Oh, did you see Javon Holland tweeted out mid-game? He said, halftime sub Greg Olsen for Tony Romo.
Oh, I saw one of the posts. I don't know if it was him.
It was Javon Holland.
But the Tyreek Hill was going at the beginning of the game. He was protecting McCall Hardman. He was going after his Chiefs. It's just, but what does that say about just overall? Before we talk Dolphins in a little bit, what does that say about Tyreek Hill?
I think he just made a lot of friendships. He was on the Chiefs.
No, what does that say about Tyreek Hill that they've won 2 Super Bowls without him?
Nothing. I mean, they
have Patrick Mahomes.
Tyreek Hill was not to the Chiefs like what he is to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes who could literally throw to a child for a touchdown. He could throw to himself. He is the greatest. It doesn't matter what his receiving core is. He can get the ball to anybody. Whereas, we need that star receiver to connect with Tua to get there for the timing. So I don't think it's about Tyreek Hill. I think it's more about the Chiefs and that their quarterback doesn't need that he can throw to anybody. He can throw to a 7th round nobody. But Tua does need a star receiver who can, understand the route, understand the timing, and get there and get the catches.
Yeah.
Okay. Tua can't just throw to anybody, as we saw when Tyreek went down.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to so overall, Patrick Mahomes, there is a level now. We very much learned, and I don't know if you agree. There's Patrick Mahomes, and then there's another tiers.
Yeah.
The next closest thing I think in terms of overall ability, in terms of when he's been on the field, in terms of proving something, has been Joe Burrow in his young career. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the other ones, when you look at Josh Allen, you look at Lamar Jackson, you look at Justin Herbert, you look at Jalen Hurts, who's still young enough, they're not there yet. It just, this guy took it literally in his hands. Like no other quarterback was going to, maybe Josh Allen would have done the same thing on 4th and 1. Yeah. But there's something about it. Like even when Andy Reid, like no one was judging Andy Reid, even when they had an awful first half, because Andy freaking Reid. There's a foundational element there that is just incredible. And Patrick Mahomes was not coming out as the number 1 pick in the draft. It's literally about finding the right combination of head coach. You see what a tight end can do. You see what an offensive line a tight ends and block can do. Mm-hmm. But overall, the Chiefs have yet to play. They've won 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And they've yet to dominate a Super Bowl. They're doing exactly what they were losing to the 49ers. They were being outmanned by the Eagles, and the Eagles choked. Mm-hmm. And then today they lost again. They've yet to dominate or deserve. They have literally overcome this because of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, but they have yet to. The reason why they're considered a dynasty now is because they're winning Super Bowls. But if you actually might go into the microcosm of the actual games, they've yet to play a complete football game. They don't look good in Super Bowls until it matters. But that's the same thing when you say about your father and 2 of your kids' favorite team Ben Roethlisberger has been useless in his 2 Super Bowl wins, but they recognize him as a great quarterback in Pittsburgh because he's won 2 Super Bowls in spite of the fact that his defense and his running game won him the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So in the end, as long as you win, it's all that matters. And this guy is something that by the way, we say, and they still lost. I don't want to compare because we're going to get to the Dolphins in a sec. The 49, in the end, what it's proving today, with the Chiefs, is that you don't have to have a phenomenal team in all aspects of the team. You just need to have the right foundation and the right chemistry and the right leadership to take you somewhere. You knew that when Patrick Mahomes came onto the field, that something was going to happen. It didn't matter who was on the field with him.
Right.
That a lot of the teams don't have that sense. They have star players who can get them somewhere, but not over the edge. But overall, this season really proved, the Super Bowl really proved that any team can beat any team. Right now, there's a lot of parity in this league. But as long as you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are in Kansas City, that's the standard. And the standard is that you just need to build. You have to find a way to fluster them. You have to go back. The only team that's been able to put them in their place are the Bucks of Bruce Arians that won the Super Bowl. That's the only team that's been able to put them in their place in a Super Bowl, like literally dominate them to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And you have to look at that. You have to find a way. You need a stout defense to drive them crazy, but then you need to be able to put up points. You can't just score field goals. You can't go like Tony Sperano. You need to have a 14, 21-point lead. You can't just lead them around for 10 points. They're going to come back in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And let's not be like special teams overlooked often.
Oh my God.
Played a huge role today. We don't have a great special teams, but you need all 3 cylinders firing, and you can't overlook the impact that a special teams play. And
Tyreek's not crying. Tyreek is happy for his team. Tyreek even said he's happy to be in Miami. Tyreek has a Super Bowl. He's makes $30-something million a year. He ain't worried about himself.
Tyreek's happy that he's a millionaire.
No, I'll give you an example. You know this better than anybody.
Okay.
If Bill Cowher never left the Steelers, they probably would have continued to win.
Correct.
He was content with his 1 Super Bowl.
Correct.
And that people still look at him as a phenomenal coach. People look back at the GOAT Don Shula, even though from 1974 to 1995, he won nothing. He went to 1 Super Bowl in 21 years and won maybe 2 AFC championships, and that was it. But because he won those 2 Super Bowls and had a perfect season, his legacy is cemented. Because once you're a Super Bowl champion, you can't do anything wrong.
Right.
That's why if you like Brian Billick, people still think he's a great coach. Why? Because he won a Super Bowl. Why people Rex Ryan think he's great? Because he was the coach of that amazing defense that won that Super Bowl. Like that, when you associate yourself to that, that's what matters, right? Bill Parcells, awful the last number of years that he coached, but because he won early on in his career, that cemented him as a phenomenal executive and coach for the rest of his career. You need to win one. If Shanahan won today, his legacy would be cemented as a great coach. He just choked the bed again today. Kyle Shanahan has cost his team 3 Super Bowls. What do you think on that? You think that's a hot take, or you agree with me?
No, I agree. I also,
we're great coaches. I don't call him a great coach.
Coaches, there's been a lot of great coaches. I mean, here's my question: like, if Patrick Mahomes, if Andy Reid retires at the end of the season, will the Chiefs still go on to be the dominant power force as they are? Do they need an Andy Reid as their head coach? Because there's been a lot of talk that he's getting ready to retire. So will that finally be the thing that put the fork in their dynasty?
You would need a offense. Because I do believe that the year after Andy Reid retires, unless they get a veteran head coach that knows how to win, they're not going to win the year after. They're not going to. So if this is a first-time head coach, Patrick Mahomes or not, you're not going to win. You're not going to win. I'm sorry, you're not going to win because in the end, that play to McCall Hardman, that was all Andy Reid. That was all Andy Reid. Andy Reid never went away from his game plan. He just played a very good team.
Also, you guys want to say talk about Bill Cowher. You got to remember that Bill Cowher won a Super Bowl. Then, 2006 he retired. The Steelers then went on to win a Super Bowl under Tomlin in 2009, I believe it was. But make no mistake that team that won the Super Bowl was built by Bill Cowher.
Of course.
So, and that's also being Tomlin's biggest critic. He's won a Super Bowl. Tomlin's won a Super Bowl. So that's why he's, been in there for years, but he has not won a Super Bowl yet with a team that he has entirely built. He won with the team that Cowher had built, but in 17 years now, he has struggled to go back to that dynasty, even with Ben Roethlisberger. So you gotta remember that there is also, and I'm not a Steeler fan here. I'm just relaying what the Steeler fans bitch up to me about every year.
Andy Reid's not retiring, by the way.
I'll
tell you why.
But I don't know if it's
no. He's only 65 years old, and he doesn't have to do as much because he literally just has to guide the team and be there. Honestly, he's won 3 Super Bowls. He know if over the next 2 or 3 years they don't get back, maybe he'll consider retirement. But if they win again next year, or they win in 2 years from now, why wouldn't he try to go get 6? Like, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he want to try? If he try right now, he has 3. Why wouldn't he want to match Chuck Noll? Why? I think he wants to go for a record where he's going, even though he's already recognized as one of the top coaches. Like, he wants to reach the Chuck Noll level. He wants to reach the Tom Landry level. He now has more than Don Shula. Like, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he want to cement his legacy? He has nothing to lose by staying. Like, why? He's going to be bored. The guy's been coaching his entire life. He can't just get up and just turn it off. He's going to have to either be an advisor. You know how long this year is going to be for Bill Belichick? He's going to go crazy. His wife's going to want to divorce him. Like, it's going to go crazy. You can't get rid of that itch. Can't get rid of that. By the way, how did what's his name? Gronk missed that field goal?
That was so funny.
Like, he literally, that was wide right. Holy crap.
Yeah, he's also gotten smaller. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
How much smaller he's also. What about, did you see JJ Watt's new hairstyle? That was pretty cool.
He was ready. You ever see the movie She's All That with Freddie Prinze? He was ready to go to the prom. He was ready to go to the prom.
Tips. I was like, who let you walk out on that field like that?
Yeah, I know. Holy crap. But they all look, but the CBS crew is just, they're very old school. It's like, honestly, there's something. I'd rather go. Did you see who was doing the Sunday Sky? You see who was up there? Christian Wilkins. The Sky Network. Christian Wilkins was on that broadcast today.
I'll tell you how much I'm gonna hate next season when Tom Brady starts.
I don't know how that's gonna work because he's owned 7% of the Raiders. So how can you? Are you gonna be able to broadcast games of a team that you own?
I don't know. But I really would like to not see his face or hear his voice either. Talk about punchable faces.
Yeah.
Overall, though, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're brought to you by Caneswear. Go check them out. All your Miami gear. It's a great place to be. By the way, a side note: did you enjoy? Even though they lost, were you happy with Duncan today?
I was. See, I only posted a whole thing like a tribute to Duncan, and people were like, "You realize that the team lost?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not
Jimmy Butler, right?
I'm not an idiot." Well, can I tell you, they're coming here to literally on Wednesday, and we probably won't have Butler.
I'm gonna read your comments, Andy.
We might not have Richardson, and we might not have Rozier, depending on that. So I'm like, cool, that's great when you guys all want to come here. And Lowry,
thank you.
Now, so that sucks. But Duncan getting in his face and getting aggressive, like I love me some Duncan Robinson. I don't care what anyone says.
I know.
I love that. I didn't love the loss, but hey, you know what? Without those 3 key players, we still were in that game.
Yeah.
So suck it, Celtics.
Yeah. Anthony Manzano, Dabo Sweeney. I don't see them coming anytime soon. I think he really enjoys college. And then in terms of what do you think a guy like Andy Reid would want to retire because football fans really don't know how hard it is to be a coach that a day. He's been that size and that grout for so long. They're literally going to name a street after him outside the stadium. He is legendary there. You don't leave because he literally, what do you expect a guy of his ilk who's been doing this for so long to do otherwise? Go eat cheeseburgers? Like that's what buying like that. He'll have to be part of an organization. Now, if he wants to go up and go be a player personnel guy because he doesn't want to be on the field anymore, sure. But they don't have someone in waiting there. Matt Nagy cannot lead a team.
And
No.
Spags is really one of those guys. I think that now has won 5 Super Bowls. Because he won 2 with the Giants. He's made to be a coordinator. He's not made to be a head coach. So anyway, so overall, what I learned from, let's just turn a bit because this is a Dolphins network also. Overall, for me, I'll just give you my opinion on what I learned today, and then you can tell me where you agree, disagree. What the Super Bowl taught me right now is that we better, if we don't keep Christian Wilkins, and right now we don't have Chubb and Phillips coming back, they better go get Hassan Reddick, who's now available, or go get someone in the draft. They better go get some stout guys because that D-line better be ready to go. They need a power linebacker in a Fred Warner type. They better go find someone who can control that field, go sideline to sideline. That is so key. Yeah. We better figure out whether Cam Smith is the guy, or if not, you have to, or you better figure out to keep X, because when you have a secondary the way that McDuffie and Snead and that group played today, they had a penalty here and there, but that's normal. You need to have a stout secondary, and that defense just has to be physical. And that's why I sort of like the revamping of the coaching staff, because I didn't like pieces staying there. They once did. I'm happy. I understand that Ronaldo Hill and all, but he's a Fangio guy. Madison, the secondary the way Kohu played and the way that other players played in the secondary, I don't think he did a very good job this year. I think it was just more the name. The fact that he's going to get other people and they're letting him build his own actual staff, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, same.
What today should have, if Mike McDaniel's watching that game, Danny Crossman's fired tomorrow, because how do you and Jake and you better go get a stout punter like Tony Townsend, because those kickers were killing punts today. You need people who can get down the field really, really, really fast. Like the San Francisco special teams was phenomenal today, getting down the field and giving them tough field position. I think that's absolutely critical. And overall on offense, what it proved to me, exactly what I've been saying all year, why I feel you need to go get a Derrick Henry, you're not going to agree, is because you need that stout running back where you have no choice but to force yourself to run the football, because we don't have a Patrick Mahomes. We're never going to have a Patrick Mahomes. So you better have someone who can balance it and really adapt to a game plan where if you have quick throws, RPOs, you have that balance. Mostert could be here on the young contract with A-Chain, but we need that, because if you saw Pacheco today, Pacheco could not get 1 yard. You have Derrick Henry, you get that 1 yard without even blinking. They move out of the way for Derrick Henry. When's the last time you watched Derrick Henry didn't get that 1 yard when he needed it? Today, what it showed to me for the Miami Dolphins is that they are nowhere near the Kansas City Chiefs in terms, because even though I think they have more overall talent on the team, in terms of on paper talent, they don't have a Jalen Ramsey level on the Chiefs. The Chris Jones is the best player on defense for them, but they don't have that level. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. They don't have the receivers we have, though, but they have a better offensive line. The D-line today showed up where they needed to be, but I think we have an equivalent D-line. In the end, it starts with the quarterback and the head coach. And for us, I don't think Tua is necessarily better than Brock Purdy at the level that he has been playing right now. And at the level he's playing right now, because he hasn't led his team to a Super Bowl or a playoff win. Yeah. And Mike McDaniel is Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. Literally a carbon copy of Kyle Shanahan, who gets away from what works.
Yes.
Like literally, Christian McCaffrey should have had 50 carries today. Yeah. The fact that they had 160 yards and you still lost, you went away from him at the absolute wrong time.
Yeah.
No. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. I was watching, and obviously, I think every fan whose team wasn't in the Super Bowl was doing the same thing that we were doing, and that was watching and being like, "What does our team need to do to get here and win?"
Yes, he did
next year. And I watched the soft zones. I watched the middle of the field being opened. It flashed me back to Fangio's defense. There's no way our offensive line would have been able to hold up to that Niners defense. There's not, and I get it. We're built
on a stretcher.
We're built to get that out in 2 seconds. I understand that, but there's no way that Mahomes struggled that Tua wouldn't. And Mahomes can take a hit better than Tua. Fight me on that all you want, but Mahomes can step up and run with it. Tua will not. Tua will not get 66 yards rushing. Also, I know I looked at it, so I was like, I went back to everybody who's been asking me for weeks, like, oh, would you trade back our first round pick? No, we need to go get Jackson Powers. That we have to beef it up. We have to use the draft to get these young big guys. The line, our offensive and defensive line, the defense has so many question marks. So many question marks that I really don't even know what draft needs we need until I see who we re-sign in free agency, like who we re-sign, who we pick up. Like, I don't know what we'll need there. Obviously I am on the huge bring X back.
But not at that contract though. He's not worth $24 million.
He's
not worth more money than Jalen Ramsey. I'm sorry. He's not worth $4 million more on the cap than Jalen Ramsey.
Read the room. Look, that's an Xavier Howard picture. That's Xavier Howard intercepting.
He's not worth $4 million. Are you telling me
that is Xavier Howard?
Okay, let me ask you something straight up. You have to go into a Super Bowl. You have to go into a game, and you needed one throw, one catch. X over Ramsey?
Yes, 100%.
You're dreaming in Technicolor, but we'll get to that.
Listen,
Okay,
I live in Lululand.
Okay, you live in Lululand. So let's talk about Lululand. So today, Ian Rappaport will tie us to the Super Bowl because Patrick Mahomes is due like 40 something, but he wants to restructure. They're going to end up restructuring his contract, so it's less. He's going to pull a Tom Brady because he wants to continue to win.
Right
now, the rule is Tua Tagovailoa could ask for upwards of $55 million per Ian Rappaport, because that's where the market is bringing, the way the quarterback levels are going with the cap and the extent he could go there. Now, let me ask you, obviously, this is a rhetorical question. No one in their right mind thinks he's worth $55 million.
Right.
If Chris Greer does this and Mike McDaniel signs off, these two are complete Looney Tunes. They're stupid. They're dumb. They should be fired on the spot. The reason why I say that, and also the person I will blame for taking the $55 million is Tua Tagovailoa, because Tua Tagovailoa will then say, I care more about myself and being a Kirk Cousins level when I went to go get $40 million when I didn't deserve $40 million versus winning a Super Bowl. If Tua Tagovailoa wants to win a Super Bowl, he'll sign for $40 million. Or 42 and a half. If he gets upward where he's going to be one of the top 3 or 4 top paid quarterbacks in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins will never in our lifetime, as long as he is the quarterback of this team, will ever come close to winning anything. What are your take on the fact that Tua potentially can get upwards of $55 million on his next deal?
I don't think that's a real number. I think that
no, but it could get up there.
Listen, I'm not drunk. I've just claimed Xavier Howard, and he is we're in Lululand together. This is emotion talking. Don't come to me
because Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer's a yes man. That's why.
Yeah, nobody comes to me, by the way, for actual rational Xavier Howard takes. They come to me to get my emotional, hysterical reaction. Like let's just call that what that is. I wouldn't pay Tua Tagovailoa over $20 million. With an option to get $10 million per playoff game he wins as a bonus. You want that $40-something million? Go win some playoff games.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't pay him more than $20-25 million. I would give him one more year.
But no one did us any favors this weekend because the NFL likes Tua Tagovailoa. They like the fact that he is a guy who was a national champion in Alabama, who went through concussions last year, did jiu-jitsu, played 17 games, does a lot for the NFL at the foundation, is hosting a after party for the Super Bowl, is there playing with Darius Rucker. He's in a Super Bowl commercial. He's in the Pro Bowl. The guy was a story on every nightly game. He has that acumen because of who Tank for Tua. There's Mike McDaniel likes the guy. There's something about this guy that the NFL is basically saying to the Miami Dolphins, you have a so-called star here.
That's not what they're saying. That's not what this is. That's not what
No. The fact that there's no player that was more visible outside of I'm telling you, this past weekend, there's no NFL player from NFL honors to Sunday that was more on social media in terms of his visibility because was than Tua outside of the Chiefs and the 49ers. It was him with Darius Rucker do it, and then the after party, and then the commercial, and then him and Drew Barrymore. He was everywhere. And the guy's done nothing. What has he earned for that? Like Dan Marino's doing the rounds. Dan Marino's doing the rounds with Mike Florio and Chris Sims and Mad Dog and everyone saying how great he is and they can win with him. It's been the vomit show of telling everybody that Tua is phenomenal.
It is. The NFL is doing it because Tua is very PG. He's very moldable. He's controllable. So they can put him out there and he's this PG, super nice guy because he's controllable. He's not Tyreek who's going to go on Twitch and run his mouth. You tell him what to do. He's going to, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Obedient. So yeah, you're going to throw that guy out there because he's perfect for your bottom line because he's not going to say shit and he's going to be a good little dog and he's going to sit when we tell him to sit and then we'll throw him his little bone. And then Tuanon will be happy. And the Dolphin fans will be happy. And you know what? Oh, yeah. We can also continue to make the Dolphins the running butt of the joke every year and keep getting that fun little laugh while we're at it. It's not because they think Tua is some superstar. He's so great. He is a lapdog for anybody who's willing to control him. You wouldn't – Tyreek should have been the one out there. If you want the face of the Dolphins, it was Tyreek Hill. But you know why Tyreek's not out there doing that? Because Tyreek is his own person.
No, you had Christian Wilkins out there. You had Alec Ingle for Walter Payton. You had
none of them will sit when they say to sit.
The problem also is that next year, Mike McDaniel's still going to be a genius. Kyle Shanahan's still going to be a genius. Sean McVay's still going to be a genius. Matt LaFleur's still going to be a genius. Shanahan tree is still going to be great because the NFL licks it up. They love the coolness, the creativeness. They never put them down. They never put them down. And Tua, but you know this. Let's just be very clear about this. Yeah. Tua's getting his extension. Yeah, the only unknowns for the Miami Dolphins right now are the fact that we don't know what's going to happen with X. We don't know what's going to happen with Wilkins. We don't know what's going to happen with Van Ginkel. We don't. All this is a whole. But the one thing I will be happy about when I look back in retrospect, I'm very happy that Anthony Weaver is our defensive coordinator. And the reason why is because this is a guy who's hungry. Mm-hmm. He wants to become a head coach in the NFL. Yeah. He's still young. He's been in the league. He's been a player in this league. The guy looks like he can still play. He's going to be on the sideline, and he literally is going to put together a physical defense that the likes that we saw last night from both teams today. You're going to see you're going to see an angry, hard-hitting, tackling defense. That's what I'm looking forward to. Like, he is the best medicine for Mike McDaniel, who's going to pull a Kyle Shanahan unless they go get a stout running back. Because for me, the way it's working right now, it's not working. And you better go, like you said, you better go fill up that offensive line. Like, I would take the first 2 picks and just go pick 2 linemen because the linebacker core, and I'd go sign linebackers and edge rushers at this point.
That's what I'm saying. Because honestly, I'm watching that line and I'm like, there is no way that our line's going to hold up and the backups we have aren't going to hold up. There's no way. And, you know, the whole reason that we worked in the first half of the year was because everything timing wise was perfect. And without that offensive line to make sure that the receivers and Tua stay in their timing, without that, we're not going to win. Tua's going to be thrown off. There's going to be panic. The receivers, it's going to be a mayhem. It all starts with that line protecting and keeping everything in a rhythm.
Hard play with you. We picked up good faith concussion. Yeah, 100%. But that's on Chris Greer. They want to solidify themselves with a quarterback for the future. They don't want to have to have that feeling of
they don't want to admit
they don't want Tua to feel like he's a like what do you call it? A sitting duck. They don't want him to have that kind of a contract where he doesn't know where he stands next year, and he probably would hold out. He probably would. And also, if Tua doesn't get his contract because of his injury history, he won't show up to training camp. He won't show up. He won't play on his option.
I still feel like we should have been bringing in a quarterbacks.
Yeah, but if you bring another quarterback in who can compete with him and you leave him on the option, he's not going to show up. He will sit out. Tua will not show up.
All right, then he doesn't show up. Then that other quarterback now has his right.
I know that, but Mike McDaniel won't do that to Tua. That's what I'm trying to tell everybody. Let's be very clear. People
Well,
think that Mike McDaniel will walk away from Tua. He will not walk away from Tua
the
because
problem is that Mike McDaniel is too much wants to be the nice guy.
yeah.
And you need a hard ass.
Let me be clear about Tua. I'm a Tua nut. I love Tua. I was the Tua fans at the beginning. The problem I have with Tua is his inability to realize where he has faulted. Let's hope that whatever he did last season, the problem for me right now with Tua is that he became too heavy in the sense that you look at Patrick Mahomes today and Brock Purdy, they were moving out of the pocket and making plays. Tua cannot do that now because he's big-legged, and he's now, when you see him run, it looks like he's running with literally 10-pound sandbags wrapped around his ankles. Like that 4th and 1 play is something that so many quarterbacks, whether you're Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, even Aaron Rodgers would go do it. Tua won't do it. Tua's going to slide after 4 yards, even though the guys are 10 yards ahead of him, behind him.
Yeah.
That's our problem. Tua needs to become a mobile quarterback in the sense that he doesn't have to run, but he has to be able to break the pocket if after 2 seconds a play is not there and make something else happen. And if he doesn't do that, we're not going to go as far unless Mike McDaniel comes to the conclusion that I'm going to make him a pure game manager. I'm going to make him basically Ryan Tannehill, where he's going to release the ball when he needs to release the ball. But I'm going to rely on my running game, fait accompli, and my defense to win me football games. Because I'll tell you this, our defense next year will be better than it was this year. Because Anthony Weaver is going to bring in a physicality and a level of intensity that we didn't have this year.
Only if we resign X.
Oh my God. Exactly. Physical, like that's the one thing. We realize you need an athletic quarterback to win the Super Bowl in the sense that the levels of Joe Montana and Dan Marino of yesteryear and Brock, they did it because that's the way the NFL was built. Yeah. Dan Marino today, staying in the pocket, maybe with his ingenuity and being like Tom Brady, he could do it. But even Tom Brady would be able to manufacture something. Dan Marino was able to because it's an IQ. Tua is 2 seconds and move. So I really hope that they're focusing on his development off season in terms of getting to become not just the stats, but actually lead your team. When Tua goes on the field, you know you're about to win that football game. You don't have that with him. They're not even close. You're not even close.
He needs to learn how to read defenses and predict.
Yeah.
And to identify a real blitz, you know what I mean? Like he just doesn't have that big factor. I think he goes out there and it's, in his mind, it's like, okay, 2 seconds. Like he has the play, but I don't think he is looking at the defense and reading what is about to happen to him. I think he goes out there and recites his play. Because if you listen to any, even Romo, the Manning brothers, even Tom Brady, who I hate, you listen to them talk about watching a play and they can predict to you what's going to happen. They can break it down. I don't think Tua has that football IQ. I don't think he can do that. Oh, Marino would have absolutely just dominated in today's soft, can't touch a quarterback game.
Oh my God.
Marino would have.
Let me ask you this tough question, because I know a few of them.
Okay.
If you're a 49ers fan right now, walking out of Allegiant Stadium,
mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? What's the first word? What if you bumped into Kyle Shanahan and bumped into into Lynch? Yeah. What would you say to both of them?
I would be so pissed off at Shanahan for his play calling, for abandoning the run in the second half of that game.
But he's done that 3 times already.
Yeah, but it would have been an ongoing issue for me. That's the first factor. I honestly, and I don't really think that I could be super angry with their defense because they really limited the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs won in overtime, but once Greenlaw went down, I think that
how do you fall running to go to special teams?
His Achilles popped.
No, he was. That's why when you go onto the field, you stroll. You don't bolt.
That's what everyone's
flying.
That's what my dad and brother saying. But I think that changed the game for them. But honestly, that defense, they were in Mahomes' face I don't think that they could have. I would have had more angry words for the Chiefs defensive coordinator than I would
disagree with you
for the Niners. I really think that they,
their
2-minute defense obviously needed some work, but they really held Mahomes. I wouldn't be as mad. I would be pissed off at my special teams for that blocked punt, that blocked extra point. That was a game changer. That if they had that 1 point, they would have won that game. But I would be extremely pissed at my offense for,
No, I wouldn't.
What, you wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't trade the staffs.
Why? It's the same. They're interchangeable.
No, I wouldn't trade the staffs because
they're saying
the way the staffs are, because I'm not a fan of Steve Wilkes.
But he's saying, would you swap? And I'm like, what would be the point?
No, I'd swap I'd swap players on the teams. I wouldn't swap the staffs. I'm not a fan of Steve Wilkes. If someone told me tomorrow Steve Wilkes or Anthony Weaver, I'd take Anthony Weaver.
But what I'm saying is the only thing that I would trade for the Niners, two things would be Bosa,
Christian McCaffrey,
and Christian McCaffrey.
No, I'd take Warner over McCaffrey. Warner over Bosa.
Bosa and Wilkins on either side of a D line.
Warner was more visible than Bosa today.
Bosa was in Mahomes' face almost every play.
I agree with you. But I would, for example, I always tell you, salt and pepper, there's a chemistry there, right? The problem we have with our defense right now, with our edge rushers, unlike Bosa, is that they're inconsistent. There hasn't been a consistency there because I believe that there's a lack in the last 2 years. There's been a lack of accountability on the defense because Boyer looked lost, and Fangio couldn't have cared less.
Yeah, I wouldn't change coaching staffs because I feel like we have the same offensive coordinator. Like Shanahan and Mike McDaniel are each other, so I wouldn't be trading up. I feel like that's.
You know what it proves today. You know what it got proved today, Courtney. That was really proved. It doesn't matter when you win. It matters when you win, and take the Heat. Take the Heat as a quick analogy because there's a lot of Miami people here.
Mm-hmm.
They won when it mattered. They don't care about the regular season. They care about the playoffs. That's when they show up. The Miami Dolphins show up as a regular season September, October, November team, then forget how to play football. Patrick Mahomes probably had the worst season of his career. Since he's been a starter. Andy Reid probably the most difficult season to be as a coach, and they still won the Super Bowl. That tells you that you need to find a way to neutralize these people when it matters most. And in the end, stick with what, and you know what that is? Keep the ball out of their hands. The fact that you scored the 3 points and still gave Patrick Mahomes $157. If you give Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Dan Marino, John Elway, a minute 57 on the 25, they are going to crush you. They're going to destroy you. They're going to kick your ass. It's going to happen. That's why I don't believe in Lamar Jackson. That's why I don't believe in Josh Allen or Justin, but they haven't proved it yet. That's why for me, I don't care if Joe Burrow is better than Tua. I don't care if Josh Allen. I don't care when people say, "Oh, you should have taken Herbert." In the end, it's a team concept, and no matter what, right now, we're all on the same playing field. Anything can happen at any given moment in any given season.
Yeah.
Literally, because the 49ers didn't deserve to win either playoff game that they won. Dan Campbell shit the bed, and Jordan Love threw a very bad interception. That's it. Today, look at the fumbles that came from Pacheco and McCaffrey. Like, look at how untimely they were, how poor it was, how anything can happen in any given game. It's about having the foundation to be able to come back and not worry that you're down 10 points and that you can come back. Until you have a team that's comfortable enough that they can come back. Like I would, if Tom Brady was my quarterback or Patrick Mahomes was my quarterback, those are the only two right now in the last 20 years that I say, and Aaron Rodgers, that I'm not worried. I'll come back. No one else has that. Maybe Burrow. Burrow is the closest thing to Mahomes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. So, anyways, now that the Super Bowl, now when you look back on the season, and you look back at the fact that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, are you now? Are you? Has your mind? How do you feel more about the Dolphins season? You can't just push. Are you sort of okay with how things ended because they lost to the Chiefs in the playoffs, or does it frustrate you even more that teams that did not look good in the Super Bowl today, that the Dolphins literally basically gave away an opportunity to be a better team this season than they were?
I think that I remain unchanged on how I viewed my season. I think that the Dolphins shit the bed. They really ended their own season, but I think that I'm okay with losing how we did because there was no way that we could beat anybody with the amount of injuries that we had by the end of the season. So I don't really think it matters to me.
Even if we won the number 1 seed?
Even the number 1 seed, because Chubb, AVG, or did he got hurt in the playoff? No, AVG and
AVG was there.
Phillips.
It was Phillips. It was Phillips, Chubb, X. Holland was on 100%.
Yeah, those
Williams
players. Even if we had the first week bye, it wouldn't have mattered because we didn't have those players back, and I don't think that our team could have won without them. And I especially don't think we could have won with Kyle Shanahan 2.0. I think that the season started out great for us, and I think we started out fine, but I think that as the season went on, all the little holes started to peek through. But I look back and I'm like, you know what? At least we get a little bit better of a draft pick out of it because we really need to go back and do some work. But I don't think as soon as we started getting all those injuries, I knew we weren't going anywhere. And that Titans game, we all know I had no trust in our defense because I hated Fangio for almost the entire season. So no, seeing these teams, I think both teams would have been beatable if the Dolphins were healthy 100% and playing like they did the first 5 games of the season. But the end of the season, how we were playing, how we were acting, there was no way we could have beat either of these teams, even though we should have. There was no way.
Our team, what it proved to me tonight was that the reason why I'm more annoyed by the season and how it went after tonight is because of the fact that next year is going to be a lot harder because all the teams that didn't make the playoffs, quarterbacks will be back.
No.
And there's something about tonight that gives me an analogy when I was a kid. When I used to play hockey, I used to love I hated being on the team that had all the great players. And on paper had all these elite players. Because because in the end, it was all about individual success, never about team success. And when I was on the team that was a bunch of average players who tried harder and that were physical, like even my kids were saying when they were watching how physical that they were, how nasty they were, and how hard they hit and how they tackle. The Miami Dolphins are like tissue paper.
Yeah.
There's no sense of physicality or anger or frustration or accountability. And that's why I wanted a new head coach. Like I said the joke, like what's his name? Who wrote it up here that next year he could be Jason wrote that we could be a 1-year DC. Yeah. If the Dolphins have an average season, Anthony Weaver is going to be our next head coach. Because I have no concern about our defense next year. I'm more concerned. That's the thing. We're not changing anything on our offense, but the one area right now that's going to bug me next year is our offense. I'm not concerned about our defense. I think that Anthony Weaver is going to put his stamp on this defense, and I think he's going to bring in the people that he needs to bring in. And I believe that the offense is literally soft as tissue paper.
Yeah. No, it is.
Do you think this season could be looked at differently if we at least won the division and lost the play? No. I believe that that Titans game literally crapped the season because we're the kind of team with the kind of team we have now, as long as Tua is our quarterback, we need the home playoff games throughout the playoffs because that gave Patrick Mahomes, even as a superstar, a level of confidence. The fact that for the first 4 or 5 years of his career, he got to play only home playoff games in front of his crowd, in front of his element. The Dolphins keep on having to go on the road to do this. Yeah. They need something simple to get that monkey off their back. And once they get the monkey off their back of winning a playoff game, then they'll have a sense of confidence. But until they get out of that, and until they get past that first step, they're stuck in mud. They're stuck in mud.
They need to play consistently throughout the season, not just come out in September, slinging it and gunning it, and then shitting the bed in November, December. And until they do that, the problem is we keep getting new coaches. It's like we haven't hit the right trifecta of coaches yet. I don't know.
I'll put it to you this way. I've said this a few times. We hired the coaches in the wrong order. Mike McDaniel would have been a better head coach at the beginning of the rebuild, and Brian Flores would be a better coach when you need to hit the next level. Because you needed in order to win, you need to be physical.
Right.
You need to be mean. You need to have a stout defense. Not that when you're developing, you need a stout, building a great offense with an okay defense that gets great. We're going in the opposite way.
Right.
So that's my frustration is Mike McDaniel was hired at the wrong time. Now, can he prove himself wrong? Sure. But if he continues to do even the clock management, did you not understand that in the first half, why wasn't Kyle Shanahan calling timeouts to get the ball back? Even because he knew that the Chiefs were going to get the ball back in the second half. I would have been calling timeouts because after they potentially were going to score the Chiefs, you could have gotten the ball back and tried to get a field goal. That extra 3 points could have won you the football game. They're very, very Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel and that group is very, very soft on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lack of physicality. And I don't know if you noticed today, Trent Williams was awful tonight.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't give up a sack all year. He took penalty after penalty after penalty today.
Yeah.
So in the end, I'm sad because now the season's really over and we're not going to see real football till September. But in the end, I actually am happy that the Chiefs won because it reiterates what I said to everybody for such a long time is that Kyle Shanahan mentality on how to run a team doesn't work, and he's Doc Rivers. You're more worried about the offensive side of the ball and gunslinging it and throwing the ball and getting away from what works. I don't know because they outsmart themselves. They're so smart, they're stupid.
Defenses win championships, and I'll have that engraved on my tombstone. It is how I was raised. It is my thought. That's why everybody always questions why I hardly comment on our offense, because I put more pressure and I hold our defense to a higher standard than the offense. And I stand by. If you have a hard ass, aggressive, in your face, tough defense, you don't need to have a high scoring offense because your defense is going to get you the ball back. They're going to disrupt them. They're going to hold them to 0-3. So if you have a defense that's going out there and absolutely are monstrous, then you don't need this 45-yard gunslinging quarterback. You can go with a game manager. You can have a solid run and you could score, 20 points a game and get by because your defense is doing the work. But it's very hard to have a high-flying offense with a crap defense where you're going to have to keep slinging it and hoping you're working on all cylinders and avoiding sacks and keeping up. You don't ever want to have to keep up with the other team. That's a big thing that we do as Dolphins is that we get behind or we have to keep up with the other team's offense because they're just firing and we're just trying to keep up. You don't want to play like that. You don't ever want to play a ball of keep up. And that's what we do a lot because we're not dominant. And you want to go out there and dominate. And then Devin Hester just got into the Hall of Fame. You want to know why? Because special teams flipping matter.
Oh, Danny Crossman, literally. I'll tell you this now. If Danny Crossman is still our special teams coordinator going into next season, we are not winning. Because you could have the best defense and the best offense in the world. If that is our level of special teams that Mike McDaniel thinks after watching tonight's game, how he has not fired this guy is beyond comprehension for me. It doesn't make sense.
He has blackmail. There's no way that our special teams is terrible. Probably the worst unit I've ever seen.
We'll never win.
The fact that they fired his assistant boggles my mind. Like, the guy needs to be fired. I'll start a petition. Like, I don't even know. Like, I will stand outside the Dolphin Stadium every day with a sign that just says "Fire Crossman." Like,
But no one wants him back. That's the thing, is that he knows how bad he's been. Everyone tells him how bad he's been, but he won't get rid of him. Something's up. But I'll just say this right now.
Any Dolphins South Florida media analysts listening or journalists listening, please at the next press conference ask somebody why he hasn't been fired yet. I would love for somebody just in the middle of the crowd. Why is Danny Crossman still here?
I don't know.
This is
all to say. I know. All to say, by the way, I'm telling you this now. It's my one comment, because it's not the. If Derrick Henry, I don't care if you believe we need him or not.
Okay.
If Derrick Henry ends up on any AFC team that is not, he can go to the NFC if he has to. Okay. If he ends up on any AFC team, except for the Miami Dolphins, I am going to talk about it on every single show on how pathetic Chris Greer is, when a guy who wanted to come to Miami, who is now a free agent, who won't cost you an arm and a leg. He will cost you, but he won't cost you an arm and a leg, but you will get a future first ballot Hall of Famer who will change the concept of what it means to play down in the trenches football, who was the top rusher when he had the worst offensive line. And the reason why you want him is you want keep away from any other team in the AFC East, because trust me, the Bills would love to have him. I'm telling you right now, if any team in the AFC East gets Derrick Henry, and it's not the Miami Dolphins, I will not be wearing one aspect of Miami Dolphins gear next season. You will not see one item of gear anywhere on me the entire season, because for me, I am telling you, that is the one way we are going to be able to be content with Tua Tagovailoa, is if you get him a guy who is an utter elite superstar. Christian McCaffrey almost won them the football game today by getting 160 yards if they would have continued to give him the ball. You need to get a superstar running back next to Tua Tagovailoa. You have no choice. You're not going to have a consistent offense that allows you to win. Because in the end, when a lot of teams, the way the Ravens won, the way your family Steelers have won, is with defense and running game. That is what gets you through the tough sledding. Then the quarterback doesn't always have to be elite, because the reason Patrick Mahomes had to run today is because Pacheco had a bad game. But if you have a stout running back, you know that that guy's going to get you everything you need every single time. Yes, but he also had 80-yard reception. Just remember, they gave him a lot of quick outs to McCaffrey. McCaffrey had over 160 yards of offense today. Anyways, do you have any final words? Because I'm sure you're working tomorrow. We've been on for about an hour and 17. I just want to do a Super Bowl postgame show. I knew you'd be the one to join me. Bobby would love to have been here, but he's under the weather. But overall, the Super Bowl wasn't so entertaining, but I am relieved that the Chiefs won, only to reiterate the fact that Mike McDaniel continues to be a moron. And maybe while watching the tape today, he will finally realize, I don't want to be Kyle Shanahan. I want to be better than that. I don't want to lose 3 Super Bowls as a key member of the coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, you could only hope so. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. March 11th, free agency opens. We'll find out if
so far away.
We'll find out if you're wearing Dolphins gear or not next year. I think it'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting offseason. I think that there's a lot of questions the Dolphins need moving forward. The Chiefs are going to continue to be the team to beat. And
they're not even that good. No offense. They're not even that good.
They played probably the worst game I've ever seen them play. And the fact that the Niners probably played one of the best games I've seen them play and they still lost should speak volumes.
And how good Patrick Mahomes is.
It's just, you know what? He's
otherworldly.
We're watching the next first ballot Hall of Famer in his prime.
He's different, but he's Tom Brady. He's John Elway. He's Joe Montana. He's Dan Marino. He's that damn good.
Yeah, we're literally watching him in his prime right now, and he's gonna go into the Hall of Fame. He's just.
But you know what's sad? Can I just tell you one quick thing? How is it that Dan Marino, Dan Marino, he's been retired for 24 years. How the heck is he still the face of this team? He's doing all the Super Bowl ads. He's doing all the lead interviews. It's in every game. The way they show do you happen to notice, by the way, the way they show Taylor Swift during games? Mm-hmm. That's where they show Dan Marino like this. Where's Dan Marino? Like the guy literally, we are living our lives. That's how pathetic it's become. That we're still living through the joy of watching Dan Marino throw a football. Every game, he's the focus. Like if you go look back at Hard Knocks, the only thing people remember is isotoner gloves. Right. It's all about Dan Marino. We're stuck. That's how sad it's become. I love Dan Marino. I'm wearing his jersey, but man, he's the face. We're still in the shadow of Dan Marino,
and because we haven't found another one. No. We have not found our next Dan Marino. No. And until then, we're just kind of stuck in like a Groundhog's Day over here in Dolphin land. And, you know, we got to see how it goes. I don't have a lot of faith in Chris Greer and Mick Shanahan. But
McGay's now for sure he's Mick Shanahan.
I like Mick Shanahan. I'm going to go with Mick Shanahan. And we just got to see. Yeah, I really need to see what happens with the defense. I need to see who gets re-signed. But I don't know. As a Dolphin fan, I'm just defeated. People have seen me. If you've seen me on Twitter all week, I don't even fight with the trolls anymore because like I don't have anything to defend. I'm like, okay, yeah, we shit the bed. What do you want me to say? I can't defend it. I can't defend you, Dolphins. I can't do it. Xavier Howard, I will defend you till I die.
No.
But the Dolphins as a team, I will not defend.
No, because all I'm going to say is when people say, "Why are you a Dolphin? Why are you so hard? Why are you a Dolphin fan?" Because I love my Dolphins. But why do you have no faith in them? Because of Kyle Shanahan.
This is the definition.
Go watch Doc Rivers. Do you understand how hard it is to lose 3 Super Bowls where you are the root cause? That's really hard to give away 3 Super Bowls. Think about this. He's had double-digit leads in 3 Super Bowls, and he's lost all 3. That is really embarrassing.
I've moved on to the Miami Heat. They're going to now play with my emotions. But
the card threw the football at Tua could not. Tua didn't want to hurt his arm.
I moved on to the Miami Heat. I'm going to.
I want more than a play, but that's the thing is that even next year, you know how sad it's become. That I'm not even satisfied with a playoff win. Like the Dolphins have to get to the Super Bowl for me to be for next year not to be a failure.
At this point, I'll take a playoff win.
No, I will not.
At this point,
no, because next year, the year after that, you're talking about cap hell. The next year they can get around it. Too. Do you understand? Tyreek is. You know what? If they don't restructure Tyreek Hill, you know his cap amount in 2025 is $90-something million. Because we keep on kicking the can down the road, they better do something next year. Yeah, that's true. I would take Super Bowl losses, but by the way, the difference is if we blew that game the way that they blew today's game, holy mother, we'd want to trade the whole team. Trust me, we don't know what's going on in 49ers land. There's something might happen there because they can't go back. They choked the bed again today. Like they should have won that game in the first half.
But give their fans. I usually say to give 48 hours, but losing the Super Bowl, give them like a week.
I know it's really hard.
Like that's got to be tough. My heart goes out to them because I can't even imagine. Obviously, I'm a Dolphin.
I get mad. By the way, I'll be honest with you. I get frustrated with my 8-year-old when he doesn't give 100% effort in his games. We're talking about novice, okay? We're talking about low-level hockey. Like it frustrates me. So just imagine the Dolphins, right? So like it's sports. Your emotions get in the way. It's just today. I actually smiled when the Chiefs won. I go.
I didn't only because I had said
Mick Moron. He really is a Mick Moron. What I've been saying for the last year and a half was shown on TV by Mick Shanahan, by Shanahan, that you get away from the run. But it was almost like a carbon copy. It was like almost like Kyle Shanahan looked at what Mike McDaniel did in the Chiefs game in the second half and said, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching and I even turned around to everybody and I'm like, this hurts me like inside. Like I'm watching.
Can you tell everyone I'm right? That Like no one ever believes me that I've been. I predicted this. I predicted this going back to Staley last year. Like,
I'm literally watching the Super Bowl, and I'm like, is Mike McDaniel on the sidelines? Like, this feels like a Dolphins game. Yeah, no, it's. I wouldn't be shocked if Mike McDaniel was in that stadium, taking notes. Like, what is she going to fucking abandon the run in the third? Absolutely.
And you look at the game clock. The game, if you notice, Mahomes always has 10, 15 seconds left. Mm-hmm. Purdy was also getting down to the low numbers too. They take so long to get their plays in this scheme. The McDaniel, the Shanahan tree, they're so slow getting plays in. It's beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
And the problem is unless you have a star quarterback like Brady or Rodgers or Mahomes who literally doesn't care and can do an audible on the fly. I don't know if you saw that Purdy called a timeout with like 7 or 8 seconds left on the clock because he was worried about the line because he got nervous. That's our quarterback too.
Right. Well, the difference between Purdy and Tua is that Purdy's younger than Tua and he's less experienced than Tua. So
they're a year apart.
I'll give him the nerves and Purdy's really started last year.
Purdy did a 4-year and Tua didn't. Tua wasn't a 4-year starter. Tua's what, 27 now? 26.
Well, this is only Purdy's second year.
Yeah, so he's 24.
Right. So I'm just saying, like,
Tua's 26, I think. Tua's 26.
But him having nerves.
It's normal.
Is like fine. And him being nervous about that, I'll give it to him because he is, to me, still a novice. He's still like a little.
Yeah, Tua's 25. Tua's only a year older than Brock.
It feels like I've had Tua for years. So.
Because we've had it for 4 years. Because he shouldn't have played his first year.
I feel like I've had.
He came out of college earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I just need I'm gonna take a few weeks to detox myself away from the Dolphins. I'm gonna let the Miami Heat destroy my emotions because they're playing like crap and the injuries.
In the end, my Montreal Alouettes won a championship in Canadian football. That's the only thing I could take out of it. At least one football team.
No, listen, I just get beaten and battered by all of my sports. The Dolphins will beat me up football season. Then the Heat will beat me up till about, I don't know if they make the finals till about June. And then that's just time for the Dolphins to, lulling me back into the off season. And then, preseason, and then they can abuse me some more. So it's a really great life over here.
I know. No, for me, my hockey team isn't doing very well. I don't have a baseball team here right now. I have to talk football. I talk hockey. It is what it is. But no, I can't come fast enough. Like March 11th cannot come fast enough.
No, I'm good. I need a little bit of time to
No, okay, come tomorrow. I can't deal with the frustration of not knowing unless Danny Crossman gets fired. That's the only thing that will give me some solace.
I'll be happy if Danny Crossman gets fired.
That will take me through to March 11th.
Do we think Vic Fangio is going to be coming to my Sixers game?
How do you know that?
No, we were just joking about it.
What are your thoughts on the fact that Hassan Reddick doesn't want to be an Eagle anymore after getting 10 sacks? Now, the joke was he doesn't want to play for Fangio.
Don't blame you. I would take Reddick.
Problem is that where do you put him? But you need him at the beginning of the year because you don't know how long Chubb and Phillips are going to be out.
Yeah, you gotta go for it because you know what? I would rather pull somebody of his caliber in and make it work than just go grab a lesser guy to hopefully that he can just be a placeholder until they come back. I'd go for talent over cheap Phil any day. But I absolutely
could be. Maybe
I absolutely hate that there's a chance that Kyle Lowry will be at Wells Fargo Center.
He was signed. He got his $2.8 million contract.
Yeah.
There's a new big picture of him and Maxey and Embiid.
I just got rid of him. I was like, I hate Lowry, go away. And then he's like, guess what, Courtney? We'll move to your city. So that's going to suck. Just because I hate him and he bothers me and his face makes me.
He did win us. I can't hate. I don't like him, but he did win my country a championship with Kawhi Leonard, so I can't be all that upset with him.
Yeah, I don't like him.
But I just call him Twinkie Boy. That's all I call him. He looks like a Twinkie.
Jimmy, I don't know how long his leave of absence will take. I'm assuming at least a week.
I don't know what happened. We don't know exactly what
There
happened.
was a death in the family,
Yeah.
so they're giving him time to grieve. So I don't know who in the family died. I'm assuming at least a week, of a bereavement. I'm not sure. I've been so preoccupied with the Super Bowl. I haven't looked up to see how bad Rozier's injury is. I know Terry said that his shoulder popped out and then he popped it back in. If that'll have any lingering issues, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my little heat update for you guys.
Okay. Any final words before we call it a night? Because you have to probably wake up in under 6 hours.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed. You gotta stop keeping me up on school nights.
Well, I have school tomorrow too, so I got to go. I'm just kidding. I'm going to be destroyed tomorrow, but that's okay. It's all good. Anyways, guys, we really appreciate it. I think tomorrow we have On the Clock, Real Talk, Finn's Talk. I'm sure we'll be there on Tuesday. I'm sure Goon Squad will be there on Wednesday. Finn's Bandwagon or the premiere episode of Beauty and the Beast will be there Thursday or Friday, something of that effect. Courtney and I have a new fun show. We're going to talk about anything and everything. It's going to be a typical Finn Stanza show, talking about nothing. Yep. That's what we like to do. So, anyways, guys.
Dolls Diaries tomorrow at 7:30.
Dolls Diaries tomorrow. Tell us who you have on Dolls Diaries on Dolphins Thursdays Network tomorrow.
I have the mock draft guy. So we are going to be going over the NFL draft and some hot prospects. And then
Bobby watched the show. That's so nice of him.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks for your first comment.
The draft, some top players, and then kind of filling in who the Dolphins should go after, who will fit, kind of a little prediction.
Jackson Powers.
Yeah, well, I've already locked in on Jackson Powers. So, but yeah, just a little bit of draft talk. It's going to be more me getting educated on the draft because I haven't locked into that yet, but it should be a good time.
You'll have a great time. Enjoy. I'll be there watching, I promise. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's been a fun season of NFL. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm happy the 49ers lost because that just keeps on reiterating the fact that McDaniel is a moron. Maybe he'll learn his lesson. He probably won't. Tua will probably get somewhere around 50 million when he doesn't even deserve 5, but we still love you, Tua. You're a nice guy. We want to have you over for dinner with Mike McDaniel. The problem is that you have yet to prove to us that you earned this money. Now, had you won a playoff game this year, that could have been a different story. But all to say, like, subscribe, fins up, everybody.